USA History guy trying to start at the beginning. A lot of students sit in US History 1 expecting to come right out about the Founding Fathers or something like this. But really, the story of America starts a couple of hundred years earlier. Christopher Columbus gets all the headlines as the man who discovered America, but there were, of course, a lot more people who had discovered America first. In fact, they lived here. But as far as Europeans were concerned, this was an unknown side of the planet. So what motivated Europeans to suddenly travel around the globe and discover this new world? The highlight of the Dark Ages in Europe was the Black Death of the 14th century, where as many as a third of the population died. The people of Europe recovered and rebuilt their lives from that devastation. They soon launched into the Renaissance, an incredible period of creativity and the belief in the human spirit and the human possibility. At the same time, the Crusades had begun recovering some of the classical works of antiquity from the Romans and Greeks. Technology was on the rise as the printing press, movable type, changed the way humans passed messages. Gunpowder and the compass were also a pretty big deal, as was the scientific revolution and the new understanding of scientists about the workings of the universe, the predictability of the stars. Combine all this with increasing commerce, new commercial interests that were really adopted by the powerful leaders of these states, kings or monarchs who were entrusted with protecting the people, providing stability. And before you know it, you've got countries that are heading off into the deep blue sea. Well, they started modestly at first, from Portugal, sailing south down along the coast of Africa. Eventually the explorers would go farther and farther, until finally Christopher Columbus made his voyage across the ocean and discovered what he believed to be the West Indies, even though it was really the southern coast off of America. This is why he called the natives he discovered there Indians. In fact, Columbus died in 1506, never having even realized that he discovered America. But the simple key to understanding the motivations of European explorers is summed up in the 4 Gs. This has nothing to do with cell phone service. The 4 Gs are God, glory, gold, and geopolitics. The idea of sailing for God was to expand the reach of a religion, Christianizing the people they discovered, or expanding the reach of Catholicism. The G for glory indicates the glory of a nation. For Columbus, he was sailing for Ferdinand and Isabella, and that was going to bring Spain great glory. And gold! Easy to understand how gold is a motivator, but this indicates all kinds of wealth. And the most valuable commodities were actually things like coffee and sugar. So what's geopolitics? Geopolitics is simply the idea of territory equating to power. The more land you have, the more powerful you are. And since they ain't making any more land, there's only so much to go around. That's what someone means when they call it a zero-sum game. So the idea of European thinkers was, we better get ours while we can. But the Spanish came before anybody else. By the time the French came along, the Caribbean was pretty much sealed up. So the French headed north, up into the North Atlantic towards Canada, Nova Scotia, and the English were actually far behind. As a matter of fact, the Dutch came and also had a dominant economic system in the 1600s, and they were very successful in arriving in what would become New England. So it wasn't until the end of the 16th century that the English were seriously exploring, reaching the mid-Atlantic of North America, the future states of North Carolina, Virginia, for example, and they wouldn't even have their first permanent settlement until into the 17th century. So a quick recap. European exploration was sparked in great part by the recovery after the Black Death, the excitement of the Renaissance, the discovery of classical antiquity, and the new technology that spurred people to be willing to take risks and be guided by the stars and their new compasses. The 4 Gs help sum up the simple motivation of God, glory, gold, and geopolitics. And you can also use these 3 words to help define the motivation. Think of the Spanish coming for conquest, the French coming for commerce, and the Dutch as well, and the English coming for community. Of course, conflict with the natives was inevitable at every turn, and we'll talk more about that in future videos. If you have a specific question, leave it in the comments and subscribe for more videos coming from USA History Vlog.